My name is Mary Lou. I'm the technology area in the division, and the idea tonight is to share some key aspects of phishing and create some phishing awareness both for you and for your staff. So we're going to be recording this session, and we want this to be an interactive activity. So please um, feel free to unmute yourself because I will be presenting, so I won't be seeing who's raising their hands. Just unmute yourself and feel free to ask questions or share some things that may have happened to you. Okay, we're going to get started. So phishing is called, it's the word that technically the actions by pirates of the internet, and that's what we need to raise awareness about. Phishing is a cyber attack, and that involves deceptive tactics to trick individuals into divulging sensitive and confidential information that is personal and private. It's typically conducted through emails or text messages or the famous phone calls that we all get very often. So this is what they do, right? They masquerade their attacks behind something that looks legitimate, like your bank or another bank, social media platforms, other colleagues. So they try to manipulate and try to get from you valuable data, or even try to trick you into performing harmful actions. Their main objectives are to get your personal information, such as your name, telephone number, other types of ID data, obtain financial information. They might trick you into, trying to find what banks you operate from. So, for example, I was getting a call from CIBC. I don't remember what bank it was, but it was a bank that I don't have any account with. So CIBC calls, is this Mary Lou? And I'm like, who is this? If I would have said yes, then they would have gotten my name, Mary Lou. But my legal name is not Mary Lou. So when they ask about Mary Lou from a bank, that already sets up an alarm for me, right? So who is this? And they say, oh, we're calling from CIBC, and we just want to validate that you are currently in the United States because your credit card is being used there and you've already spent $400. So we just want to make sure that it's you. And so I cannot release any information. Why? Because if I say, oh, yeah, CIBC, they will know that I do operate with them. And if I say, no, I don't operate with you, then they will just have that a piece of information that I don't operate with CIBC. And if I said, is it my MasterCard, then they would know, right, that it's my MasterCard or whatever. So they're really smart. They have like call centers where they will gather information after information, and they will continue to target you and people that you may know or have a work relationship with. So phishing is all about making sure that we recognize and identify when we're trying to be phished. So all we can do, and that's the main objective of this presentation, is to create awareness and to prevent anyone falling for those phishing intents. Any questions so far? I have an example here. Let me see if I can play it. This is an old one, but you may recall it. See if I can.
It's not playing, Mary Lou.
Okay, thank you. That probably is playing, right?
We could hear that.
Right at the end.
Yeah, we don't want that. Okay. It's okay. It's it was just an example. Are you seeing my presentation still?
We're seeing you now.
No,
Mm,
seeing
okay.
everybody.
Thank you. All right, I'll continue with my presentation. It's from a movie that, you know, it's very easy when they call you and say, oh, you've been a target of identity theft, and, you know, we want to make sure that we offer you the protection for nobody to be able to use your information, and this is for free. And he just goes for it and provides his name, social security number, the whole thing. So that's pretty obvious for now today. It wasn't obvious maybe 10 years ago, but now we realize it's very obvious. So now we have other things that we have to look out for, and that includes a number of different types of phishing intents, which is you know, sometimes you have a pop-up that shows up in your computer saying that um, your software, you need a new antivirus protection because you're not protected and you're vulnerable, or you have a super good offer to, you know, too good to believe that it's happening. So there's a lot of things that can happen, and it is very important that you exercise two main things. One is that they will be unsolicited emails. That is, you have not reached out to anyone asking, you know, to, let's say, get an American Express or something else, right? So it's unsolicited. And the other common thing is that urgent action is required, either to click on a link or to send some information or to take some kind of action. So I don't want you to learn all these common types of phishing. I just want you to be aware that there's so many things that can come up. So anything that doesn't seem right, it's probably an attack. If anybody wants to share an example, please go ahead. So this is a phishing example of an email. And I want to ask you, how many of you believe this is a real legitimate email? Just, you can raise your hand or put it on the chat. Okay, how many of you see at least one mistake in this email? How many of you see more than 5 mistakes in this email? So let me start by showing you. So you have either some words that are misspelled, or some verb tenses that are incorrect, or there's again the request for fast action and to click into this login, yeah, probably harmful link. Yes, Dr. Lee, you raise your hand.
No, I was just saying you raised your hand for seeing errors. But
Yeah.
what I've learned on these things is when Amazon says I have to prove my account and I hit from Amazon, and it's not Amazon, it's some very complicated email that from a server I don't know. So that's one way you can check, is when you hit from, it'll
Yep.
display the actual email, and it's not who you think it is.
Exactly. So that's the very first thing that you can check, you can verify. What are the things do you think you can verify if, like, you get an email from me, right? You get an email from me, and yeah, it's my name, right? But then when you open the email, you realize that email address that it's coming from, it's not really mine. It's not, you don't get emails from 2gtplus@gmail.com. It's a free one. And if anybody wants to ask or share something else, please go ahead. You can unmute yourselves. You get these often?
Yeah.
Hi, I have an example.
Okay.
And then also to answer your question regarding what kind of things will lead you to think that it's not a legitimate email is when they push buttons to raise a panic emotion out of you. And they use they choose certain wordings like urgent, last chance, terminate, any of those wordings. That's when I know it's not a proper email.
Exactly. And that's a key thing for identifying malicious emails. They will urge you to take immediate action one way or the other. Believe me, if your account is at risk, they will just notify you. They will just let you know your account is at risk, please contact the bank and whatever. But there's other things too. If you, for example, you get a call on a landline and they tell you, we have identified some weird transactions on your credit card. Please call the number on the back of your card and take action about it. If it wasn't you, they can. I think it's called spoof. They can spoof your landline, and when you think you're calling your bank, you're actually they actually stayed on the line. And although that can happen on your mobile, it will happen on a landline. So they can be very tricky and very very dangerous in that sense. So you have to have all those alerts. They can even use like fake characters. Let's say if I put here in this example, Mary Lou at nsdivision.ca, they can use instead of the L a number 1, and you couldn't be able to tell the difference. And it's not my email actually, right? Or maybe it's more difficult to create on the domain, right? And they will change it, they will alter it. And so it is very important that you can verify everything through a different or an alternate method. Let me see if there's some. The problem is that opening the email is sometimes enough to steal your information, even if you don't click on a link. It's harder. It's very hard that they can steal information just by you opening an email, unless you click somewhere. It is very hard. But yes, they can steal your voice, and they can mimic a lot of the things and make you believe, right? There's some stories like I have a 14-year-old, right? She texts me and hey mom, my battery died. I'm texting you from my friend's phone and I ran out of money. Can you please transfer me to her account? I don't know, $100 or something. I need to take an Uber, whatever it is, the excuse that will make you panic and take immediate action, and they start taking your money like that. So there's tons of possibilities for them to take your information. It is important that you validate the email that it's coming from, even without, some servers will allow you, like Outlook or Gmail, you can actually see who is sending the email without you actually opening it. But there's so many options that you have to be really careful where that email is coming from. But again, all you can do is prevent. You cannot actually avoid getting those phishing emails or those unsolicited SMS or any other kind of thing. You can only be aware, very aware. So if the sender's name is familiar, verify that the email is the one that you regularly email on. If again, you get an email from a colleague, the email address doesn't sound correct, do not respond to that email, do not open it. Text them on your, use another form of communication, text them on your cell phone or or through WhatsApp or any other kind of communication just to validate and to ensure that they're not being targets themselves, right? Hey, I received a weird request from you to buy gift cards. Although the reason seems legit, it doesn't sound like you. So you can take a screenshot of that. You can just, use your phone and take a photo of the email that you're getting and let them know, or just by communicating it to them. It is very important um, when you have to pay for something, like you're starting to use a new website, make sure that the payment site is secure. There's always an S when it's a secure website. Never enter your credit card information if the URL at the top of the website doesn't start with HTTPS. So that's a good tip I want to share. Also, please have multiple passwords. We've talked about password managers. It is so easy to identify, and I'll be happy to share a video that I shared with our division staff about how to identify how to get a password from one person. Let's say you may have, or either you or somebody in your office that has a sticker with a word in it. Let's say the example that this website gives, it's the word elephant. And you can just figure out that for most websites, you need a number and a sign. How many of you have the number 1 and the exclamation mark, or the number 1 and the question mark, or the number sign, right? Or then the number 2. So there's only like 32 characters that you can combine. So with a computer that is trying to break your password, knowing that word will just reduce it to milliseconds. And if it's manual, to less than a few minutes, because you can try them just so quickly. So do try to use multiple passwords, especially for the more sensitive, banking information, private information. As I was saying before, when they send you the link from PayPal or whatever, or Amazon, that was a great example, just make sure you can log in manually. Or from TELUS, I had one from TELUS saying that my phone number was going to be disconnected. Imagine my panic if my phone number was going to be disconnected. So I just called TELUS from my phone and I said, what's happening with my account? And then I disclosed, well, they're telling me that, my numbers was going to be disconnected. And no, that's not true. That's just a phishing intent and things like that. So there's a lot of critical thinking that has to go in to prevent being phished. But there's also a lot of common sense, or I call it gut, right? Something within you tells you this information that I'm being asked doesn't sound right. So I have to stop right now and disengage from anything. And then we'll try to figure out, or you can try to figure out what's happened, or how to, if they took any information, or if you think that you may be at risk, your computer may be at risk. You can always run different remediation tools. So the most important advice that we can have is, yes, do not open the emails. If you did, just don't click on the link. Do not open the attachments. Do not forward the emails. Do not reply to their emails. Many times you have security measures that put them in quarantine, and that's amazing. You can also screenshot your the information that you're getting, just to let the alleged sender what's happening. And remember, do not give any information. Oh no, I don't have an account with you, or or yes, I do have this, or no, nothing to no or yes. Just, what is this about? I will disconnect. Don't call me anymore. That's it. That's all you can say in these cases. Anything else you might want to add or ask at this point? In any case, right, if you fell for the bait, because it can happen, my suggestion, or everyone's suggestion, is to run a scan to check for viruses, because clicking on a link can set up and install a malware that can affect your entire network if you're at work, or damage your computer if you're not. So always make sure that until in case there's any risk, do change your email and banking passwords. Make sure you have strong passwords. Using a password manager will allow you to have very strong passwords, but you can make them your own. You can have a method, as long as it differs, right? It's not the same word with a different number and a different sign. You have to have different a different method that is stronger. And always notify the alleged sender or your potential distribution list if you are aware that it's gone to a group that you participate. If it reached a couple of people, then notify everyone else. It's happened to everyone, to the CRA, to everyone. It's happened. So nobody's going to say, "Oh, Mary Lou fell for it," right? Yeah, it can happen. It can happen. It is more important to prevent any further damage and let everyone know than to just say, hope this doesn't happen to me. Is there anything else that you think where this malware or these phishing attacks can come through? How about social media? Right? How many times your identity can be duplicated? And how many times have you seen somebody that is already your friend request another friendship request, or a different photo all of a sudden, and that that you feel that it doesn't seem right because it's the photo of my friend with her ex or something like that, right? So that's an old photo, and it's something doesn't feel right. So sometimes it's very obvious, sometimes it's not. I once got a Facebook request from a friend and had the exact same picture that she currently had on. And she was telling me about this too good to be true scam, obviously, but system, and you have to do it, and tell your kids about it because it will change their lives and da da da. So she has 4 boys. So I'm like, how are your daughters? And they wouldn't reply to that. Oh, have your daughters done it? Right? And the reply is, everyone in my family has done it. And I'm like, you would never say that because you have only boys. So, you know, just making sure that I was playing. I knew that it wasn't my friend because that's not her style, but I was just trying to make a point and trying to see how they would react to this. But anyway, um, this is all I have for now. If you want to share anything, if you have any examples that may have come to your way and you want to share with us, please unmute yourself and let us know.
Yeah, it's Mona. What really scares me is AI and people faking the voices of grandchildren and scamming grandparents saying, "Oh, I'm in Australia and I've been in a car accident. You have to email money to get me out of jail." And it sounds like their grandchild. So it's frightening.
Yeah, well, it's, you have to have ways to communicate with your family. And again, you have to send them a text. You have to not run into despair because it can wait. The best recommendation I have for that, Mona, is just hang up and use another communication method to reach your loved one. Sometimes they just went to the movie theater. That's when they catch them. That in Argentina, that's where I'm originally from. They are experts at this, and they will just wait until you're in the movie theater, until your kid is in the movie theater, and start saying the same thing. I was in a car accident. I need you to send me money. I blah blah blah, and it is frightening. But all we can do is be aware, be ready to hang up, even if it sounds like a tough call, and find your way back to them without this middle person. And AI should not, it's not something that I'm afraid of. I think that AI today is like when computers started like 30 years ago, that everybody said, oh, they're going to take away our jobs and we're going to lose this and we're going to lose that. I think it's going to make us more productive. It's going to make us better thinkers. It's going to, but that's just my perception of it. And I've been studying AI since for a long time. I'm not going to say how many years, but I was in college when I started doing my thesis and everything around that. And yeah, it can do a lot of things like computers can do today, and communications and everything. And I respect anybody that's, you know, that doesn't feel so confident around it. But I think that there's more negative media around it than what it really is. There's even an EMR that uses AI nowadays here in the North Shore even. So you know, we have to adapt to change and be prepared to all these things that can be scary, and don't allow that to stop us from progress. Okay. Are most password managers equal? No, we don't recommend a password manager. There are many out there. Most of them will have a free trial. So I can provide a list. I don't have them at top of my mind right now, but I can provide you a list of some of the password managers that are out there, and you can explore them and test them. Any other questions? Any other comments?